Okay, we're live, and we're just having a casual start because we were having a conversation in the green room with Maurice Evans. This is Roland Takaoka from MinMax Media, and we're joined also with a comment wrangler, Tim Longwell. And I'm just going to not introduce anything beyond that, and we just talk it because the conversation is so good before the show starts that I thought, well, shoot, we might as well record what we're talking about before we get there. So
right.
I'll let you guys, Tim, if you'd like to ask a question, or Maurice, if you'd like to say anything right now, it's an open mic.
Hi, everybody. I'm just happy to be here, Roland. I really appreciate you having me. Tim, really cool to hang out with you as you wrangle those comments. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, you know, it's going to be very interesting, Maurice, because literally I've been playing tag with you for about 2 years and 8 months. And
man, you know what? It has been a while.
I know exactly.
Since our very first. You know exactly how long you've been tracking it, right? You're like, man, Mo brushed me off again.
that, of course, that didn't really happen, but.
No, it's been a lot of different circumstances for both of us, but I'm glad that we finally get to connect and do this, man. This is exciting, man. We've been talking about this for some time, and I know you've been just killing it with giving value to your audience, and that's something that I always respect. It's always about giving value. So, man, I'm excited for this next hour.
I really appreciate you being here, and so it's actually the top of the hour, and right about now I would be saying something along the lines with an interview with Maurice Evans, America's favorite business coach. And then I would say coming next on MinMax Media's Saturday morning Marketing Smarties. So consider that done. And
nice.
Maybe we'll play a little bit of music the way we had planned.
Yeah, let's get the intro going.
Something like that.
Oh, it's a little smooth, man. Okay, I like that.
That's the icon of my my brand. And here we go.
Nice.
With this. And so let's
love it. Hey, that's me.
That's you. And so we're going on from there now. And then I would officially say, greetings, everybody. Welcome to Saturday Morning Marketing Smarties. The only reason it's called that is that I'm here in Southern California, and we are experiencing the last hour of the day where it is Saturday morning on Earth. So that's my claim to fame. The show started with a very small group of people, and it very well could be that they'll show up today. And they know that we have been trying to get this interview started for literally 2 years and 8 months.
Man, that's almost 3 years. That's a long time. So, man, I have to live up to the hype. This has been promoted for 3 years, man. I gotta dig deep in the repertoire now. Where's the good stuff? I keep the good stuff under, and it gets the good stuff down here.
Thanks, Tim. Tim reminded me I had the music on, and it was about time to turn that off. So thank you very much.
Yeah, it was a little long, but that's okay. It was good music, so set the mood. Light a couple candles. We're good to go.
We are joined today with Tim Longwell, who's agreed to be our comment wrangler today, because as you know, the Smarties show is very much based on audience participation. We want your feedback. We appreciate you being out there, and we appreciate your comments. We will include as much of that as we can in the conversation today as we talk with Maurice Evans. So we call him Mo, and he always says, you know, now that we know each other, now we're friends, call me Mo. So we're going to call you Mo.
Mo, it is.
Unless I forget and call you Maurice.
That's all right, too.
Yeah, anyway, Mo, the first thing that I would like to do is give you a chance to Oh, by the way, Tim, you want to say hi to the crowds? You're sitting in the background, but I don't want to exclude you from the conversation.
Well, we got such a full show today that, yeah, I'll make it quick. I'm Tim Longwell with Longwell Art, and I'm helping you gain health and happiness through reigniting your creativity. And I help you turn your dreams, ideas, and memories into works of fine art. And we're in Southeast Oklahoma, and you can find us at longwellart.com as well as YouTube and Google Plus and Facebook.
Thank you, Tim. And I really appreciate you showing up and helping out with the show today. It means a lot to me. So now to turn this over to Mo for a bit. And Mo, you want to introduce yourself as far as your business and what you do and who you are, and tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Man, that's a lot of talking. Are you sure? I have.
That's the whole hour, right?
My name is Maurice W. Evans, but actually we're friends now too. So you guys can call me Mo. I'm open to any questions that you have. I am the CEO of I Grow Your Biz. And the core of what we do is we really help people do what they love for a living, get paid well to do it so that they can then live out their dream life. We focus mostly on business coaching, helping people to start, to build, or to scale their business. We work with a lot of professional coaches, consultants, creative agencies, and show them how to really go after those high-paying customers and to growth hack their business. So that's kind of it in a nutshell as far as what I do. And I'm here today to share some growth hacking tips, some community building tips, and to answer absolutely any business questions that you may have. You get me complimentary on Roland's bill. Roland's taking care of the bill today. So whatever you have going on, I am here to help you. I just want to add value to you guys. Really great to be here. Excited about this show.
Thank you, Mo. And it cost me, you'll never know. But we find
don't tell them, they'll get sticker shock. Like, how much does he charge? So
yeah, really,
no heart attacks during the broadcast today.
Yeah.
Yes.
Basically, Mo and I carried on a relationship that started 2 years and 8 months ago, approximately, right at the start of 2015. And
I like how you're keeping exact track of this. When exactly is our anniversary? Because I don't want to get in trouble because I missed our 3-year anniversary, which is coming up. 2 years, 8 months. What is our anniversary date? Because this means a lot. So I want to be in there properly, Roland.
Thank you. As far as I know, this is the closest I remember, I had a small contingency of viewers when this show started 2 years and 9 months ago. And then you were one of my first outreaches to try to get you to join us on the Smarties show. And that was the first month after the first month I was in broadcasting. So it had to be January 2015. The exact date, I don't know.
Okay, so our anniversary is January, coming up January. All right, we'll have to do something special.
That sounds good. Maybe I'll talk you into coming back and sharing the next phase of the Mo show on Smarties. Absolutely. Okay, that'd be cool. So one of the things there's no way we can cover all the stuff that you do, and I realize that. But I've kind of handpicked a couple things that I would really love to get included in this. And one of the first things that this show has started on the principle of giving first. And I basically told people when they started watching the show, if you're not ready to start with the concept of giving first, then turn the knob, go elsewhere, because we're not going to speak your language here. And
it's not going to make sense.
It's not going to make sense. And so we are embedded in the concept of giving first. And I know that you are too, but what a lot of people aren't aware of with you is that you're actually a minister of your own church or of a church. And I wanted you to speak a little bit about that, because it's very important for me to connect the dots that there is no difference between the spiritual self and the marketing self and the personal self, and authenticity goes way deeper than the skin. So if you would talk a little bit about your ministry and what you do there.
Well, I love what you said about adding value first. And I do believe that that is a learned behavior that for many people, it's not intuitive to give first. They are wanting to get first. And I think that the nature of giving first really opens up a lot of doors for people that they may or may not have been aware would have been available to them with an opposite approach. By just saying, what can I get out of this situation? It doesn't really work. And giving value is always appreciated when people get it. Now, the level they appreciate it, that's going to vary. But it's always appreciated when you are a giver and you're known as a giver. So one of the things that whenever I talk about me as a pastor, I'm not proselytizing anyone. I am a Christian. I am not ashamed of that. And what I believe, though, is probably different than what you may know of some other Christians. However, I am a pastor as well. And so I have never taken a salary as a pastor. This is something that I've always done as a part of giving. I believe that God is love. I believe that love gives. And so if I am to operate as a child of God, then I must love and I must give. And so we do that in various ways. Sometimes it's financially, sometimes it's time, doing things for communities, doing things for families, doing things for individuals. My wife and I do a lot of couples coaching. So there have been marriages that have turned around. There have been people who are getting married, who've gotten a good foundation. So there's a lot of things when it comes to this giving of value that kind of ties into that. It's a part of who I am as a Christian. It also dictates how I operate my business, which I believe is to be done with integrity. And so I am a leadership trainer in the secular realm, but also in the religious realm. So I do leadership training for other pastors, and I do organizational training for other churches. We plant churches. My wife and I have planted churches, and we're actually in that process now. That's kind of why we moved to the Midwest, to really help the people in God's kingdom begin to operate with better leadership qualities, with better integrity qualities, with better love and giving qualities. So, but this is also what I do in the business arena. So I'm always doing the same thing. It's just the context of it that changes. That makes sense.
Absolutely. And I love the fact that we're able to have this brief conversation, because so many people separate the two and they're like, oh yeah, that's what I do on Sundays, or that's what my spiritual self. And oh no, this is my business hat. And for me, I just really cannot change hats like that. I mean, if you got me, you got me, and I'm all those things all at once. And I think that's the way the universe planned it. So to be a unified self and function with perfect integrity, or the best integrity possible, you've got to be all present. All of you's got to be present. And so I love what you're saying there. And
absolutely, I agree with that. To be authentic to who you are, Shakespeare said, "To thine own self be true." And I think that a lot of people wrestle with that, because as we were discussing earlier, they have the home self, they have the church self, they have the office or job self, they have the self around their friends, the self around family. And these are disparate because they're really trying to please other people. They're trying to be what they think other people want, rather than truly being who they are. And believe it or not, who you are is important. Whose you are, who you belong to, that's important. If you have a disconnect on the inside, that's going to impact everything in your life. Everything that you connect with, there's going to be some sort of disconnect. It's going to be off. It's going to be kind of sideways. It's not going to fit. It's not going to work. It's going to be difficult, challenging. And a lot of times the problem is not the circumstances, it's us on the inside and how we perceive it, our level of maturity of who we are.
Wow. So speaking of the integrity of what's going on, we know that that's what you bring to the table. When you step into the other so-called, into the next phase of shoes or wear a different hat, we know that you're the same person. So going into these other phases, it gives me an appreciation of who you are and what different depth of the words you speak. So now as we speak about marketing and promotion and exposure and expanding out in our business world, then that gives me a completely different essence of who you are and what you're saying. So I appreciate that. One subject that I didn't want to avoid is that 2.5 years ago, you caught my attention because you talked about communities. So we know that that's a very, very important concept. But what I want to know is how important are communities now, and how should we address it if we're an entrepreneur, if we're one guy or a small group of people? How do we start building communities?
Well, that sounds like a long conversation, but I love the question because we do want to get entrepreneurs to begin to think this concept, communities, tribes, because the reality is affinity is the core of marketing. Affinity is what enables us to express, hey, you have a challenge, you have a problem, and I have a solution for that. That really is the reason why a business exists. It resolves a problem in the marketplace. There is a need, and so you have a solution to that need. And so when it comes to who is your target audience, people say things like everybody. I was talking with a barber here locally, and I was, talking with him about business. And, I was like, well, who are you targeting for this particular project that you're doing? And he starts to say it. And I say, no, not everybody, right? Everybody who has hair, it would seem. But that's just not true, because you can't do with a baby's hair, an infant's hair, what you do with an adult's hair. Women want things different with their hair than men want with their hair. There are different styles of hair. So whether you realize it or not, your product or service will connect with a specific community more so than anyone else. And so if you ignore this fact, then you're going to kind of be all over the place, and you'll be hit or miss with your marketing. You'll be throwing good dollars after bad, and that's a tracking and measurement situation. But if you know your community, if you know who you have an affinity with, then you can begin to speak the language of your target audience, and you can express the solution to the challenges that you know that they have. And this is super important, because once you start with the understanding of community, then you can focus on the niche of tribalism. And that is where the real power comes in all of your marketing. When I do sales training, I tell salespeople this all the time. Only 2 reasons you aren't doing gangbusters of sales. Only 2. Number 1, you're talking to the wrong person. Or number 2, you are offering the right person the wrong thing. And so by focusing on community, we always know we're talking to the right person because we're in that community. Number 2, we know what to offer them because we share the same affinities and we speak the same language and we have the same discussions. This revolutionizes the trajectory of your sales performance in your business as an entrepreneur when you begin to focus on community.
That's precious stuff, because one thing that always occurs to me is that people want to join other people's communities. They say participating in a community and be a part of something else. But at some point, it seems to me that if we're marketing especially, we have to become a leader and we have to express. And within that community, whether it's mine or yours or a general community, we have to become a leader and express ourselves. And so that's a stage that we have to convince ourselves we need to be a leader.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because people confuse community with crowd. A crowd is not a community. When you're a part of a crowd, it's anarchy. There's no leader. There's no one in charge. We're all just kind of here, you know, as an affinity by virtue of geography or some other geo-demographic that, you know, we just happen to be, you know, right now there's a crowd of people listening to this either live or later the recording. And so by virtue of that, we are technically just a community at that instant, at that moment. But that's why I said community is just the beginning. You have to go down and drill towards niching into tribalism, because every tribe has to have a chief or an alpha, and that is that leader who directs the tribe. The chief of the tribe determines what the tribe's mission is, determines what the tribe's philosophy are. And this will happen organically if you just let your community be, but unfortunately then someone else is now leading your community. If you don't take that position of leadership, somebody will. And so it's important that you go in and be intentional with your community, with your tribe, that you are the alpha, that you are the chief, and that what you do helps to guide the direction of the community, because somebody else will gladly come in and do that for you.
Exactly. So if we're trying to sell something, or we are entrepreneurs producing a service or a product, we have to believe in what we're doing. We have to have the best thing in our price bracket and be proud of that, and then be willing to push and talk about it and express that so that it helps other people. And so
absolutely,
the leadership is a very important thing. Tim, you have something?
Yeah. And Maurice touched on this when he mentioned that if you don't take the lead, somebody else is going to. But the thing is what builds us when you go in there, when you're diving into your niche, to your tribe, and you want to build that tribe around you, people don't care what. They'll always be able to find out what or how anything is done, especially today between Google and YouTube and everything. That's easy to learn. But why are you doing it? Can they relate to why you are doing it? That's what makes that tribe. That's what pulls that cohesion together, that they follow you because they believe in why you're doing something.
Absolutely.
Well said.
The core issue is the underlying why, the reason that you're doing what you do. And that's a lot of people teach that they don't buy what you sell. They're buying into why you're doing it and your cause and the reason behind it. And if their cause is similar to yours, they're going to be a buyer. So
the interesting dynamic there is what is actually, once you truly get into tribal dynamics, is actually much more powerful than the why, which is why it's important for you to take on the role as the leader within your own community from the very beginning and being intentional about that. That's one of the things that we teach about branding and showing people that you need to become the big name in your niche, because most sales are lost because someone decided to get that same service and maybe even pay more, but they did it because the big name was the one that they trust. So my mentor, rest in peace, J. Conrad Levinson, in the Guerrilla Marketing series of books, he discusses this concept that the default, when people are faced with a decision of purchase and they're not sure which one is actually better, or they're not sophisticated enough to actually do a true apples to apples comparison of this product versus this product, they are going to, by default, they're going to choose the brand, the one that has the most of their mind share, the one that has positioned itself in their mind. That's who they're going to go to by default. That's why, you know, if you know, if Oprah says she's doing the show, a whole bunch more people will show up there than they do for our show, right? Why?
Most
because
definitely.
of the why of the show? No, because of the who of the show. Tony Robbins does a show. A lot more people show up than when you and I are there. Why? What is he talking about? Doesn't matter. It's the who. And that's tribalism.
So after a while, if you brand yourself and get big enough, the brand itself stands almost more importantly than your why. So you got to start with, so you got to start off with your good why and build upon that. But then after a while, it's like you have a confidence move where you know you're standing for the right thing, and then you just push forward.
You always will have the purists who they're definitely all about the why, and they understand the mechanics and the ins and the outs. But tribal crowd dynamics, most people are just not sophisticated about the things that they're actually interested in. And so we see this with brands for, like, you know, what's a good computer to buy? Well, the average person is going to say, oh, and they're going to talk about the brand. They don't know anything about processor speed, how many processors, how many cores in each processor, what type of memory, the speed of that memory, what kind of motherboard is being used, the speed of the hard drive, the connection of the hard drive. They don't know how any of that works. They don't care about those specifications. They just know, oh, Dell is good, Acer is good. And I'm not saying any of them are good. I'm just saying in their mind, they know the brand. They know the who. And they don't know why, but that's why they recommend it. And that's really the core of the thing that we do when we talk about viral marketing and viral advertising. Because viral advertising causes people who are not even your customer to recommend you branding. People just assume, oh, you know, I heard XYZ brand was good. So now they made a recommendation, even though it's pure hearsay. It's a fine dynamic, comes in with the integrity of the individual. This is why there's so many people out there who are a who, but they don't have a good why. And there's a lot of people that follow them, but there's also a lot of problems that those people encounter because that person doesn't even have a why. They're not operating with integrity. They're not true to themselves. They have this facade of, this is who I am in the community as a leader, simply to take advantage of the power that comes from being the who, right? But the real core of this is, how do you sleep at night, right? How do you look in the mirror? And that's when that why comes in, and you begin to attract more people in your tribe who have that same affinity, that we're about the same why as well. And those are the most powerful communities, even though they may be smaller than many other communities.
I love what you just said, because in my experience, it's not about getting the masses to sign up and the numbers of the Facebook likes and all that stuff, but it's really selecting the chosen few and being everywhere for them, that they turn, be involved in that community. So I love what you just said. Tim has a comment from somebody, so let's let him share this.
Ross Betts is joining us. She says it's a great way to start her Sunday. It's 3:33 a.m. when she first posted to let us know she was here. But she
good morning,
and she was looking forward to the show when it started. But then she followed up here just recently with a question while we were talking about community. What happens when we choose the wrong community?
That's a good question. I think that if we have chosen the wrong community, it means that we were not intentional and purposeful in the things that we were doing initially. Culture, no matter what the organization is always by default fine. And so sometimes we find ourselves in a situation where we don't understand why things are the way they are, or we don't understand why these people are here. And that means that we have a culture that is not by default. Many organizations, majority of organizations, have a default culture. And so it feels like it's the wrong community. But as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, if you are there, it is the right community. You know, people sometimes say, hey, I feel like I married the wrong person. And my philosophy is that if you married them, they became the right person the minute you married them. And so now it's just a matter of understanding how to work and be intentional in that marriage to make it be that fulfilling place that you want it to be. If you say, man, I chose the wrong community, as the entrepreneur, you are the creator, not the consumer. And so the community that you are in is your community, and it is the right community. It just means that at some point you've had mission shift or mission creep, and you were off by maybe 1 degree. And in the beginning, it didn't bother much because it was still pretty close. But as time went on, you found yourself way off in right or left field somewhere. What you have to do is when you realize that it seems like your community is the wrong community, then you get even more intentional and you become even more tribal and you become even more exclusive. And what you begin to do is by becoming who you want to be, you will automatically create a friction for those people who don't want to go in that direction. And the people who want to be there will dig in deeper. And that conflict, those people will eventually fall off and your community will shape and it will become the right community.
That's beautiful. And it reverts back to the concept that you get involved in a community or an environment and be the leader who you are. And if you're not willing to lead, then you're subject to what everyone else wants. But if you want to achieve what you want to achieve, you must be intentional and you must be a leader within that realm. So before we leave this concept, because there's a real important one coming up next, I wanted to check with Tim to make sure there are any more comments that need to be said or any people that need to be acknowledged. I have inside information that we've got at least 10 viewers watching. So I encourage everyone to check in and make comments or ask questions whenever you see fit in the comment stream. And I wanted to also mention before we go on any further that there's a very, very good chance we will stick around in the green room and invite the audience into the green room for a short period of time to meet Maurice. So if you want to meet Mo, you can possibly do that right at the end of this show. We're going to give you the green room link and allow you in. So be looking forward to that.
Yeah, it sounds like fun.
Yeah. So Tim, let's see what he's got here. Another comment by Roz.
Yep. And it touches on, and so it's right in line with what you were advising and the powerful statements you were making about being the leader. She says, there are times when I have so much going on in my own interests that I've lost the clarity of who I'm serving. And so then it seems like you've got the wrong community because you as the leader, as you brought out, you lost that clarity. You're not leading that group anymore. They're floundering. And so it feels like the wrong community. So her realizing this problem and your thoughts on her previous question about what if the community's wrong, they synced up real nice. And her follow-up comment I thought was a good point to bring out.
Yeah, and congratulations to her for recognizing that challenge that she's facing. One of the problems of our culture that has to, I don't want to go off on a rant because I will on this particular topic. Cultural conditioning and social engineering causes us to think opposite of that the way an entrepreneur should. And so one of the things that people get caught up in is busyness rather than business. And they're not the same thing. Being busy is not the same as being productive. And activity is not the same as actual accomplishment. And so people confuse those two and they get busy and they pride themselves on something. Oh, I'm busy, I'm busy, I'm busy, I'm busy. And so what we do is we do something called over functioning. we function beyond what we are truly capable of doing. And as a result, things start to fall out through the cracks, including our focus on our mission, on our community, on giving value to our people. So some leadership things will help you in that. Clearly, you need to replace yourself. If you're that busy, then you're doing too much. And so you need some help, and you got to figure out how to replace yourself. You got to learn how to delegate. You're going to have to learn how as my mentor, John Maxwell says, teamwork makes the dream work. And so you're going to have to get people in there to help make this community happen. And you would be surprised at how many people inside your community are actually willing to step up into leadership and helping roles if you merely ask.
Well, it parallels what I said so long ago, that if you express yourself in the thing that you love, do what you love, eventually everything else is going to fall into place. And you don't have to worry about, gee, I've got to make a buck, gee, I've got to do this, I've got to do all this busy work. Well, we don't have to do everything, but we have to do a few things right. And those are going to be way more impactful than doing the multiplicity of so many things that you're so busy about. So I say, look at your realm and pick 3 things and focus on them, and you're going to get more done in your week than if you try to do all those things.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Well said.
So before we move on from the concept of community, is there anything that we should take away, or is there one strategy that you recommend that stands out among all the things you know?
When it comes to community, be intentional. That is pretty much kind of with everything. Be intentional. Do it on purpose. There's a lot that can be learned in regards to community dynamics and tribalism and these kinds of things. And, you know, again, my mentor, John Maxwell, has a book, 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. If you haven't read it, go read it. Law of the lid is law number 1 of those 21. Now, they're not in order, but this is the first for a reason. Because your organization, i.e. your community, can never grow beyond the capacity of your own leadership lid, your own leadership ceiling. So by increasing your leadership ability, your capacity as a leader, it increases the ability of the entire community. So be intentional about your own personal growth and development. Be intentional about the mission and focus that you have for your tribe. Be intentional about being a good leader that's always giving value to your own community.
I love it. Thank you very much. And we'll have that be the takeaway. Before we move on, though, I wanted to screen share something because I know that people are going to listen to this and want to be able to contact you. So I've got your various connections. They are in the details below the video in my website, DIYLivestreamingshow.com. If you're on that page, all of the links are live below the video. And I want to share my screen right here and give them to you so it's recorded in the video. So if you watch this on YouTube or anything else, you can always copy this down and paste this into your browser and go to these various opportunities that Maurice has provided for you. So that's
and for the social media junkies, I Grow Your Biz everywhere. So LinkedIn.in/IGrowYourBiz, Facebook.com/IGrowYourBiz. I'm not on MySpace, but I'm just saying everywhere I Grow Your Biz, you will find me. If you're trying to reach me, I'm not hiding. It might take 2 years, 8 months, but
it was worth it, believe me.
We will, and it will be worth it. When we connect, it will be. I will add that value. I will live up to America's favorite business coach. I promise you.
Thank you very much. So now that we've crossed that threshold of the halfway mark on the show and we're cruising down the other side, there's a subject that I do not want to avoid for another minute, and that is your concept of growth hacking. And I think that people don't really understand that much about growth hacking and the essence of it, but I'm very much attracted to it myself because it pretty much mimics or emulates the philosophy of what min-max media is all about, and that is the minimum you need for maximum impact, and getting the effect that you need, being creative, and developing a unique way of doing things that gets a bigger impact on the far end. So could you introduce us to your concept of growth hacking?
Absolutely. Growth hacking for me simply is rapidly scaling a business from whatever point it's at to a point beyond its competitors very quickly. And naturally, creativity, tools, all the philosophies that we present as guerrilla marketing philosophies, there's a lot of ways that you can ensure that this happens in any business. I think the first time I truly growth hacked was by accident, and the second time it was out of necessity. The second time is the one most people know about. I was homeless, and I literally slept in my car, slept in warehouses of a friend of mine's business. I slept on the beach in Tampa Bay, Florida, and it was just terrible. And I ended up in a situation where I found one customer who was willing to give me $1,500 to build a e-commerce website for them. I took that money. At the time, I was living in an efficiency apartment. That's all I could afford. It was $150 per week, everything included. Small as this studio. Just, nothing, a bed, and I stepped out, there's a bathroom and a kitchen, and I mean, just a smaller place, barely making, I had just gotten a little bit on my feet. And so I took the money, the $1,500, I set aside $300, which was that week and then the next week. And I took the rest and I got an office. From that office, I bought some computer parts. I built my own computer, and I began doing what I do. Now, I only had 2 weeks before I would have been kicked out of my apartment. I only had 30 days because I had paid first month. The last month, bought a desk and computer parts. And so if I didn't make it, I was going to be back homeless again. But fortunately, I did make it. And I made it very well. In fact, that it was just me and my computer. Went from 0 to 10 employees in 2 years, $1 million from the third year. This was impressive at the time because we're talking early 2000s. So we were the fastest growing Microsoft.NET web development programming company. I started getting banks and Fortune 500 companies as customers, and a lot of things happened very, very rapidly for us. But it was because I really started implementing all of the different dimensions I had been trained in up until that time. Whereas previously I kind of had been focusing mostly on the sales and marketing dimension. By really bringing in those business development areas, I was able to do things like once we got going, I spent about $200,000 to develop a framework, which meant that we could build a website and have it up. We could register the domain and have the website up within 24 hours, active and live, because it was a framework. Now, today, there's free places like Wix and GoDaddy. There's framework like Drupal and WordPress. Those things didn't exist back then. Well, Drupal did, but it was in very early stages. WordPress wasn't a thing really. And so by doing this, we created a reproducible system that enabled us, because I noticed, hey, every website has a login, every website has a homepage, every website has a so we just built a framework and said, we'll just plug in their data. Boom. That set me ahead of all of the other people who had to program and code every single website by scratch. So growth hacking enables you to rapidly, very, very rapidly generate a lot of business, whether that be sales or customers. It allows you to service the marketplace in a way much more efficiently than your competitors. It allows you to tap into communities and tribes so that you have an affinity that grows exponentially because your community is actually growing the community. They want more people in the community. That's the thing about communities. Every community wants to grow. Community is like a living organism, and so it desires to grow, it desires to reproduce. And you can encourage that intentionally, and that's growth hacking.
So the question that will occur to everybody that's an entrepreneur with virtually zero following is, how do I get on board with this movement? If I want to form a community, if I want to growth hack, and if I want to start building this influence, can I do it from where I am? Or what do I need to do to get on board that ship? So what advice do you have? You
always start wherever you are, and growth hacking is super, super simple. Listen, respond, and do. That's it. People will tell you what they want. If they tell you what they want, give it to them. If they don't like the way you're giving it to them, they will tell you if you will listen. Change it. Do what people want you to do. Respond to your community. A community of 1, 1,000, or 1 million, the process is always the same.
I love it. And, you know, part of what you're saying, I've been working with a secondary motto. If people want something and you do not deliver that service, help them anyway. In other words, when someone comes and asks me for something and I don't deliver it, I don't tell them, no, I don't do that. I say, well, let me help you find it by going here, or this is what I've heard, this is my experience. Maybe this will be of help to you. And you help that person, whether they're your client or not. And that's the concept of giving and the opportunity to build your reputation, which is what people are buying into initially. And so if you're if you're starting out with a small business, it really boils down to that, still assisting people and giving them what they need, not necessarily what you want to sell.
That's right.
So, you know, oh my God. There are stages for people, but the one most important inspiring thing that I'm taking away from this is that we can start from right exactly where we are. It's what Mike Dooley says, do what you can with what you've got from where you are. And I live by that motto succinctly. And the intentional concept, we can do whatever we want in this life. And as Zig Ziglar says, we can have everything in this life we want as long as we will help, if we will just help enough other people get what they want. So he didn't say you're going to make enough money if you screw people out of $1. You know, you screw enough people out of $1, you'll have $1 million.
Right.
That's not what he said. He goes, just help other people get what they want. And so the secret is staring us in the face is exactly the thing that you just said. And people really don't get it, because they're too busy with the, I need this, I need that. So they're on the concept of what they need at the root level, and not what the process of giving and production, expanding, leadership, and all this intention that we're talking about today is all about. They miss the point because they're not on board with that.
Right, right, so, absolutely.
So Lowell Ann Fulsang was in the audience early. She was not available for the event itself, but she came on board and made a comment referring to a video that you made about 4 years ago. And it was on the 4 stages. Oh, I think Tim's probably got it. Let's see if you got the... Yeah, I love your video explaining the 4 stages. So is there trust when we promote without being a buyer? And I love that because I think you answered that in our conversation today. Did you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, so the 4 stages that she's talking about would be that people start out as that looker. And, well, they start out as a stranger, right? We don't want them to be in that stranger position. And so then they become a looker, then they become a buyer, and hopefully then they become a promoter. And when we try and force people to that buying stage right away without taking them and addressing, because you can actually do this, you know, there's a method that we teach our coaches that in 17 minutes, they're able to take a person from a stranger to a looker to a buyer. And so you have to address each of those areas. That's really what it's about, is you have to acknowledge that a person is going to be suspicious of you when they're a stranger. They don't know you. They don't like you. They don't trust you. It doesn't mean they don't want to. It doesn't mean that they can't. And it doesn't mean they're not willing to. It just means they don't. So you have to address the fact they don't know you, they don't like you, they don't trust you. So get to know them. Give them an opportunity to like you. Give them that chance to trust you. Zig Ziglar, you mentioned, he said that people will listen to you if they like you. They will buy from you if they trust you. We know people buy from people. They buy from people they know, like, and trust. And so you just have to get people to that stage where they will know, like, and trust you. You have to acknowledge where they are. You can't be so focused on, you know, buy from me, buy from me, buy from me, that you don't allow that person to process you. But if you address what is normal objections that they're going to have, and the way that you address that is simply by proving that you will continue to give them value. And the best way to prove you're going to continue to give them value is to be that giver, is to give first and to give value before they become the buyer. You damage that potential relationship when you try and force the buyer, when you try and, you know, promote to them and just turn them, a stranger, into a buyer without, you know, any kind of, just walking up to a person, hey, wow, you're beautiful, will you marry me? It just doesn't, it's just too much too soon. So it doesn't mean that you would not necessarily be able to have such a wonderful day with them that you get married the next day. But it's not going to happen instantly. So
you broke it down very well. What we were really talking about, and I've even back when we started the Smarties show, we were talking about relationship marketing and focusing on the concept that the relationship really comes first. And then Ted Rubin comes along and says, R on R, or return on relationship. And so he focused on the concept that relationship is the most important target here. If you build a relationship, everything else will fall in place. But focus on a true relationship and don't try to make it be a shield or a mask in front of your sales force. So it's really important that we work about the concept of the relationship first. And I really appreciate your concept here. So in the 4 stages, one of the last ones is promoter. And what most people jump to in the marketing range is, oh yeah, we can turn your people into raving fans, brand ambassadors, and even, as you say, evangelists for their own cause. And I think that they love saying the words, but they have no idea how to make raving fans brand ambassadors or evangelists. And isn't that something that, you know, because you dropped the catchphrases, people will often buy what you have to sell, hoping that they can achieve the end result. But there's a bunch of fluff in between that is really very worthless. So it's kind of a comment that I'm making on today's marketing and advertising. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, you know, that's marketing. That's my wheelhouse, man. And so I love it. I think you're spot on with what you're saying there. And the reality is that people have a problem disconnecting themselves as a consumer versus becoming a creator. It's a different mindset. You have to think like a consumer, but you can't operate like a consumer. And that's where the difference becomes, especially when you talk about growth hacking, you talk about 4 stages of a customer. You know, so in social environments, We're all consumers. Hey, how you doing? My name, and me, I, my wife, my kids, my job. And then it's your turn to do that, and we accept that, and that's fine. When we're talking about business, though, no one cares about your location unless it has to do with how close it is to themselves. No one cares about what your office looks like, your picture, your number of employees. They don't care about that stuff. They don't want to hear about you, because the minute money is involved, the minute you're asking for money, people, as I say, are tuned into one radio station, WII.FM. All they care about is what's in it for me. And so when we think like the consumer, then we want to, as a business, say things like, we offer. Nobody cares what you have to offer. What they want to hear is, you will get. So we have to think like the consumer, which they want to know what's in it for me. But we can't behave like the consumer. We have to behave like the creator, and we have to say, this is what you're going to get, because they're thinking about what's in it for me. And if you start talking about you and what's in it for you, you're going to miss it. And so I get approached all the time. People want to know, hey, Mo, will you partner with me? Will you invest in me? Will you this, that, or the other thing? And I always hear all the benefits for them, what they're going to get out of it. But they never come and say, Mo, this is what you're going to get out of this. They always say, Mo, if you do this, I can do this, I can do this, I can do that. That never works for anybody that you're trying to get to buy into something. You have to tell them what you're going to get. Your customer needs to know what they're going to get, not what you offer. They know you're offering something. They know you want their money. The question is, do you deserve it? Are you going to provide enough value that they're going to want to give you their money? And so to get those raving fans, those evangelists, it requires you to stop thinking, oh, I want somebody to promote my business for free. If you think that way, it's not going to work. People do it not because they're asked to do it. You know, the wireless industry has had this problem for a very, very long time. In fact, most wireless companies to this day will still give you some sort of referral bonus. If you refer somebody to their wireless plan, they'll usually give you like a month's credit and that person a month's credit or whatever. They used to be wildly popularized. They used to give out cash bonuses, but people aren't motivated by money, believe it or not. And so even getting free wireless service, nobody cares, because nobody wants to sell cell phones. That's not what they're into. When you have people referring things, it's because they had such an awesome experience, right? If you watch the video, I believe, now I think about it, I talk about a place in St. Petersburg that sells barbelo wings. And so I love this place that I would take people and I would treat them to go there. I love it so much. I'm bringing them new business. I'm paying for that new business. Do they ask me? No. Do they give me money? No. They're not even one of my customers. But you know what? It's awesome. And so because I think it's awesome, I'm going to share it. Is your business awesome in the minds of your tribe? Does your community feel you're awesome? If they do, then they're going to tell everybody about it. It's not something you have to force, but it is something that can be done organically and intentionally.
And I like that the whole concept of the irresistible offer, because the chicken wings you're describing, it sounds like it's the only place in town that delivers what they deliver. Are they the cheapest? No. Are they this? Doesn't matter. When you bite into the chicken wing, that is it. It's like, I got to have this again. And it brings us back to the concept, you better have a damn good chicken wing. You know, if you are working on your product or service, and for the price point, it's the best that there is, then you've got a way to go. You're focusing on a really good product and service in the first place, then carry on from there. You can work on the promotion. But if you don't have a good product or service, and you're not willing to give towards sustaining the concept of the best in his class or the best for the price, then you're not going to make it either way, because nobody wants a thing that's no good tomorrow. And so
nobody does. No. And so if we think about that as the entrepreneur, it changes our approach. And one of the things is that, you know, one of our programs, we say we turn you into a success generator, making you irresistibly magnetic to your ideal customer. Whatever your offer is, it should be that way. It should just draw people to you and irresistibly, like, man, I have to have that. I've got to get more of that. And if you do that, you'll realize the only way to make that happen cannot be through gimmicks, cannot be through trickery. It has to be through providing true value. You got to have the best wings in town, as you say.
Exactly. And so many people think, oh, let's see, in the scheme of things, I am told that I have to have an irresistible offer. Okay, how can I word this so that it makes people think I'm irresistible? It's like, that's not the point. You have to be irresistible, and other people have to be sharing you. And then when they're promoting you, as you're more believable, because it's not you talking about yourself, it's other people talking about you, and that's the viral nature that's going to make you successful or not. Because if other people don't like what you have to sell, you're not going to be able to sell it directly. Either way.
That brings it full circle. That requires you to be authentic in who you are in all places at all times.
Wow. In the nature of this show, we've been trying to redefine the word authentic for years now. And I think that a lot of the people out there know it's a word, know the basic fundamental meaning, but really do not know how to be authentic. And then we've covered it very well today. So we're getting down to the top of the hour here. And I just wanted to reiterate that we are going to open up the green room if anyone wants to join us. And I think that there might be a few people that do, but we'll be around.
Yeah, let's hang out.
Yeah, we'll be around for a little time. So I'm going to do this before we hang up here. I'm grabbing the green room link, and I'm going to post it in the DIYLivestreamingShow.com website. And if you'd like to show up, we'd love to have you. So, oh, Michael Thomas is out there. Roz Betts. Andy Hatchett had to leave a little bit early. And Alana Birmingham is enjoying the conversation. So thank you very much if you showed up. If you're watching in YouTube.
Thank you, everybody.
If you're watching in YouTube, then thank you for doing that. But at this point, we're going to thank Tim for helping us out with comments and assisting us today and contributing.
Tim, the Wrangler.
Hey, magician of many talents.
And we really want to express the deepest thanks for Mo for coming and joining us today and being a part of our presentation.
My pleasure.
Obviously, we can't cover everything you do, but you gave us a really good chunk of great stuff that people should probably replay and watch again and again. So thank you very much. Love having you here. And is there any last thing that you would like to say to the audience or anything that we missed that any way we can help you out here?
Oh, man, I just really appreciate you having me here. We are really, really excited about some things that we're doing in expanding the brand, in which we're actually going to be certifying people so that they can become a part of the America's favorite business coach team. So I'll let you know about that in the future. Right now, through the end of the year, we're going to be taking select people into a beta program, and then we'll launch that in 2018. So if you have somebody who's just really become a highly paid coach, get in touch with me. Projects we're working on right now. I just am glad to been able to add value here. Enough, man. We're gonna have to do this again. We're gonna have to, you know, on our anniversary month or something. We got to make this happen.
Okay, well, that's in my calendar for January. Then I'll start planning it now.
Yeah, let's do it.
Thanks so much, Mo. And for the day, I hate to sign up, but I'm going to. And maybe we'll see a few of you in the green room because we're going to invite you in. We posted the link in the Saturday Morning Marketing Smarties. I'm giving it to everybody right now. 3, 2, 1. Okay, it's posted in the website. The green room link is there. So we're going to be signing off. And thank you, everybody, for watching and in the green room today. And thank you. Good day for now from Saturday morning.
Remember to picture your success.
Right on there. And good day from Saturday Morning Marketing Smarties, everybody.
There's that good music again.